Hi everyone, welcome to Tuesday's episode of Casual Watch Talk. I've been doing some YouTube stuff again, so I nearly say Casual Watch Reviews, but you should subscribe to Casual Watch Reviews as well. I'm joined by my panel, Seiko Todd. Thanks for joining us, Todd.
Hello.
And Watch Chris. Chris, thanks very much for joining us.
Hello.
Well, should we kick it off and do a little, as everyone's kind of filtering in here, should we do our wristwatch check? Chris, do you want to kick us off here? What you wearing?
I actually I had two different watches on today. This one I've had out for a couple of days now. So this is a Vacheron Key to Lee. Anybody?
Ooh. Oh, wow.
I've been wearing this for the last 2 weeks. It's a titanium sapphire dial. And it was a very, very limited edition or limited run, I think, is more of what it was. It wasn't really a limited edition. It's not numbered or anything like that. But I've had this. I bought it when it came out years ago now. Love this watch. Yeah. Vacheron Key to Lee. They came out with this in, they originally came out with it in titanium with the sapphire dial, or you can get it in palladium or white gold. And then they came out with the stainless steel version. The stainless steel version just tanked. And
oh wow!
Yeah, that stainless steel version just killed this watch, and they never made it anymore. It has like an Art Deco case. It's beautiful.
Yeah, no, it looks awesome. You said you wore a second watch. What was your second?
I was wearing this guy. You ever see this before?
Oh
yeah.
Have I shown you this before? Right?
No, I don't think so. Is it a Bolivar? No.
No. This is a Romain Jerome.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Romain Jerome, but this is so basically this was made by Angenieur and Eric Giraud. Eric Giraud, do you know who Eric Giraud is or Angenieur? Eric Giraud is a designer. He designs all of the MB&F watches.
Oh,
and then he's designed for Vacheron and a few other designers, a few other brands. And then he Romain Jerome teamed him up with Angenieur. Angenieur are a brand that or a manufacturer. They make the movements for Singer Reimagined, and they also make the movements for the Moser chronographs. So I think Ming just used one of their movements in their chronograph. They're a really, so they made the movement inside this watch basically. Yeah.
So is it, because I thought it was one of those LED watches, but it isn't.
No, it's a linear jump hour retrograde watch.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So it basically tells the time on the front of the watch, tells the hour on the front of the watch, and then on the top it gives you the minutes. So
wow.
Yeah, they made two versions. They made this version, which is called the Spacecraft, and then they made a Subcraft, which was designed by Alain Silberstein. So the Eric Giraud version is the one that I wanted. He made this, he designed this at the exact same time, or around the same time. He was designing the HM5 for MB&F. So that was a driver's watch. This is a driver's watch. Yeah.
What's the year on that? What year was that made?
I don't know. I think it was probably 2015.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit earlier than that.
Mm-hmm.
They went out of business. Romain Jerome went out of business. They made some weird watches over their years, and they came out with I think during their years in manufacturing watches, they came out with two really cool watches, and those are the two that this one and the one I just mentioned. I wasn't a huge fan, like the Titanic DNA and the Moon DNA and all that stuff. But I mean, they did this one right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Todd, what are you wearing?
Well, unlike my name, I'm not wearing a Seiko today. Although I haven't been wearing two too. So my Seiko Patty Turtle is upstairs. I'm at my dad's house, so I don't have my collection with me, but I do have my standard I like to travel with is the Moonwatch, 1861 Hesalite last year of the 1861 2021. So that's what I'm wearing today. Always good to have.
Yeah, love it. And I'm on the last few days of reviewing the Bel Canto. It's having to go back soon. Really cool watch. I won't give too much away because I'll do a review, but I was so lucky to get Christopher Ward to send me one of these. I got it a couple of days after it launched, so a big thanks to Patrick and the team over at Christopher Ward for honouring me with a Bel Canto to review. So I've just been gathering my thoughts, and I was on vacation last week, so I haven't had a chance to post it yet, but I certainly will be doing. Well, shall we get on with the show? We're going to do a hit or miss show. We're going to do it in kind of two parts. We've got new watches that have been released the last couple of weeks, so we'll decide whether they're hit or miss watches. And then Todd kindly went to an AD who gave him free raid of a lot of the...
I went to like 5 ADs,
wow.
5 boutiques. No, actually it was like 5 boutiques in the Galleria Mall in Houston. So,
awesome.
Yeah, we have lots of possibilities.
Yeah, so we'll be showing those as Todd's pictures, and then Todd will be doing a mini review, and then we'll obviously give our opinion as well, because they're probably the who's who of the most popular watches that are out at the moment, I would say. So let's fire up the hit or miss. So before we start here, I just wanted to give a shout out to our sponsor, Man Cave Leather, who is currently doing a Black Friday sale. So Macola hand makes these leather straps. They're awesome. Patrick, who usually joins us, he's just made him a leather strap as well. And all of my leather straps are kindly provided by Macola. So definitely, if you're interested in high quality handmade leather straps at a really reasonable price, check out Man Cave Leather, mancaveleather.com. So there's my little plug. Next, first up on the list here is one of my picks, and this is, I bought this watch, so I'm hoping that it comes tomorrow. For years and years, I've wanted to buy a Frogman, but I was worried that they were like too big. I mean, they are too big. I mean, they are big, and they bought out this limited edition 30th anniversary Frogman, which is made to the similar spec as the first ever Frogmans. So this is actually smaller than the current Frogman, but I just think it looks cool. It's got gold accents. It's a limited edition. Casio's really weird. On the website here, it says that you can actually enter a competition to be honored to buy one. And I did this, and that you have to put your credit card in, and they put a hold on it, and then they drew the competition and said, "Oh, sorry, you haven't won it." And then Hodinkee had them like the next day, so I just bought it off Hodinkee, which was weird. But I'll pass it off to the panel. I mean, Chris, have you ever owned a G-Shock, Frogman?
I've never owned a Frogman, but I've owned plenty of G-Shocks. My problem with G-Shocks is the size. So like the Frogman, they're all large, and I just feel as though, and I'm not opposed to a large watch. I mean, most of the watches I have are above 40 millimeters, and but listen, they're great watches. It's just not my. I just end up always selling them. I like the G-Shock, the squares. I really do like the square a lot, but yeah,
you're not. Every single G-Shock I had one when I was a teenager that I wore to death, but that was the small. It wasn't the square one; it was like the smaller size one. I forget the reference, but you're right. Every other G-Shock I've owned, I've ended up kind of selling, but that's kind of most of my watches that I have. I'm going to try this one out. I think it's special because it's the 30th, and I actually like the color scheme, so I'm certainly going to see what it's like. So I don't know, Todd, have you ever owned a G-Shock at all, or?
Yeah, I have I've owned one G-Shock, and I still have it. It's square. It's one of their low temp squares. I bought it off one of the watch YouTubers. He was having a sale, and I said, hey, for that money, I'll buy it. It was like $25. And so, I still have it. And I like the Gerald Genta-like design on this Frogman. I don't know if they're all that way. Kind of that offset asymmetric look between the case and the band. I mean, that's the way the Aliens watches were done, or some of the Aliens watches. I like a big watch if it's purposeful like that. I mean, how big is that? Is that like 50?
I think it is 50.
I thought they were really big like that.
Well, this one's actually smaller. So I
Oh.
wonder why it doesn't. I wonder if it says it down here. Oh, here we go. So basic information. Yeah, so it's 52 by 50.
Oh, okay.
Which actually, I'm gonna eat my words here, but I think the standard one is bigger than that. So the standard one is 58 by 52. Oof. So it is smaller, but yeah, they all have that asymmetric.
Oh, they do. Okay, so I like that design. So this is a little smaller. Probably wears pretty well. I mean, I think it's a hit. I don't think it would be for me, but I like the watch, and I know you can strap this on to about anything, and it would work for whatever you need. Yeah.
The zombie apocalypse comes around, which is probably any day now.
Well, you know what? I agree with TGV from back in the day when he said the best watch to own in a zombie apocalypse is a Rolex, because you can barter with your life for food or for safe passage to the uninfected zone. But while we're on it, G-Shock's been on some crazy limited edition kick at the moment. They've released this Super Mario Brothers limited edition square one. They released a Haribo, like the candy manufacturer, limited edition. So they're on a bit of a crazy roll at the moment with I wonder if they've got the Haribo one here, but it's probably sold out. But they're just on this really. I like the fact that they still kind of experiment with a lot of things. But
I like the Budweiser one that they did a little while ago.
Yeah. I still maintain that looked like it should have been given away with Budweiser. I remember back in the day, my dad, they used to give away watches with beer and with cigarettes and stuff like that. And not that my dad smoked, but I remember, you used to see watches with cigarette brands and stuff on.
Wow, that one's $8,000.
Yes, well, this actually they've made it. They've had a special a guy who makes samurai swords actually make the case. Yeah, it's incredible. Of course, because it's Casio, they've got absolutely nothing decent on the website. I think on the actual G-Shock website, it's probably got it. But yeah, they've got a specialist craftsman to make the case. This limited edition, so it's sold out. So people loved it.
There are people who are diehard when it comes to G-Shock, which is cool. I mean, there's I see them sort of as Seiko. I mean, I'm partial more to Seiko. Obviously, I really love Seiko, but I think the G-Shocks, there are so many fans out there of G-Shock, and they're cool. I mean, they're and they run the gamut. I mean, $8,000, you could buy one for $25.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, G-Shock probably not $25, but $56.
Not far off. That square one, I think they're about $40. You can get on Amazon for about $45.
Yeah, $45, which is great. I mean, and when you think about it, you're getting a great watch for that price. That's an affordable.
Yeah, there's probably nothing better. Maybe if you want to say a Seiko 5, if you want something, or G-Shock, that type of thing is probably the best you can get in that price range.
Yeah, and Chris, you bang on. We're splitting the audience here. So Kent says that he loves G-Shocks. Junior saying never desired for a G-Shock. Jeremy's saying never owned a G-Shock, never will, but I recommend it to a coworker. Her teenage son is an athlete. And then Mark saying the G-Shock equals hit. So we're definitely dividing the audience.
It's funny because when people ask you about a watch and they're like, "Oh, you're always either saying Casio, G-Shock, Seiko." If someone wants something that's inexpensive, that Casio, the G-Shock Square, you could do anything with.
Right.
Yeah, and for all the other watch brands that have focus on military watches. Casio don't really, G-Shock doesn't call out that it's a military watch, but obviously a lot of members of the armed services military wear G-Shocks overall. Anything else,
you can wear it anywhere you want.
Yeah, and it's the cheapest way to get into a moon watch as well, isn't it, Todd?
Well, at least a space watch, right?
Space watch, yeah,
because you can wear G-Shock in space.
Yeah, there's some actually great photos if you search online of them with like Omega on one arm and then the G-Shock on the other, and then International Space Station. Well, that's it. We nearly did a full catalog show of G-Shock there, but next up, Todd, this was one of your picks, wasn't it? Yep. And this is the smaller Murph. This is interesting, isn't it? Because you were thinking in the zeitgeist of films, like, you know, not Inception, Interstellar was like it was you know 10 years ago or something, wasn't it? And they bought that Murph watch out at 42, and that was 5 years ago easily, wasn't it?
Yeah. And it was a lot of the main controversy of this whole thing was the size when it first came out. So Hamilton is usually pretty good about responding to fans and such. So they brought out the Murph after Interstellar. I think it was like 5 years or whatever after the movie. They brought it out in the actual size that they built for the movie one, which was Hamilton's response to the critics. But I looked at one, and Hamiltons tend to wear large anyway because the way they do the lug design, and this is a very Hamiltonian, I'll use that word, lug design. I've owned two of their modern ones. I had a khaki chronograph, and it just wore like lug to lug. It was like 50 millimeters for a 40-something millimeter watch. And so this to me is going to be like a really, really good, size to wear. Obviously, it just came out. I haven't seen it on wrist, but this is what a lot of the watch community has been asking for.
Yeah, because the original one, it was 42 millimeters because they were mirroring the watch that was in the film, but that was a practical effect, wasn't it? It wasn't a watch. They need to make it bigger because there was a motor. If you've seen this isn't a spoiler, but if you've seen the film, the hands kind of revolve round, don't they? And rather than do CGI to death with it, they actually made it a practical effect. So they mirrored a watch that needed to be made bigger for a practical effect, which was, but Chris, have you seen this Murph watch, the original, the 42?
I actually, I don't know if I had it on my channel. I don't know if I reviewed it, but I definitely have seen them hands-on. I mean, I kind of like it in 42 millimeters, and if I were buying one, I would want to buy one in the original size, but I get the idea behind the 38 millimeter because I think it's going to fit more wrists. People are going to, and I agree with Todd that they do wear larger because they have these long lugs. So, if you have a smaller wrist, that 42 millimeter version is not going to be wearable. You also have a very thin bezel, so it looks bigger, and it's not an incredibly thick watch either. So all that, combined. I think I tried to buy the original limited edition, which came in that special box that they did, and then when I missed that, I was like, I'm not going to buy it on this because the prices went out of control, and then I was like, forget it. So I saw this, and they're not coming out with this in a limited edition. So not that I'm a limited edition, type of guy. I do buy limited editions, but I just figured, I'll just wait until this hits the market and then buy it on eBay for something at a discount.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think they could have just released this watch without calling it the Murph watch because I don't know whether it still has that association to it. Maybe it does. I mean, they're known for their movies, I suppose.
Yeah, but it's like the Moon watch. Like, is the Speedmaster Reduced a Moon watch? No.
Well,
that's watch that went to the moon, right? So I mean, kind of. If you think of it in that.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying for sure.
They should call it the Smurf. No, that's already been done. Never mind. Small Murph is the Smurf.
It came out with a blue dial, and they called it Smurf.
Called it Smurf.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so we're saying we're gonna go on the side of this being a hit.
Oh yeah, I think it's definitely a hit.
Okay. Yeah. Next up is here. Oh. Hang on. Sorry, I'm having.
Nope. Sam?
I think Sam may have froze. Did he freeze?
Sam, you are staring intently into nothing. Uh-oh.
I think we might have lost him.
And now brought to you by Microsoft Live Updates. Sam, the casual watch reviewer. Sam, are you there? Sam. Oh no. Oh no.
Yeah, I guess we did lose him.
Yeah, it's still, we're still able to communicate, and then I see the live ticker is still going forward.
Well, I guess we can move on to the next watch while he tries to get that sorted.
Yeah, we can be.
The only watch that, because I joined late to the party here, so the only watch that I asked Sam about was the Mido that was just recently released from Hodinkee.
Oh, the Hodinkee Mido. Okay.
The limited edition. So that just came out, and I was actually pretty excited about that. I bought one, but yeah.
Okay. Wow, how much was that one roughly?
So they just came out. I think it's relatively similar to the way that the 44 millimeter versions are. So this is the Mido Ocean Star GMT, which was literally released today. I don't know if they've sold out of them. They limited them to 999, which is a lot of watches. But I think that they probably thought that the demand for this watch would be pretty high, because a lot of people wanted a 40 millimeter version of the Mido Ocean Star GMT. And they also did this in a sort of more tame, I'll use, colorway, because most of the colorways that they've done so far have been a little bit not crazy, but they're a little flashy because they put these ceramic bezels on them that are shiny and everything. So then we're talking about the Mido Ocean Star. I figured we'd just jump onto a watch that while we were.
So this was carried out similar. Like I remember when they came out with the Rainbow Diver. I really liked when I'm a big fan of that. I didn't buy it or anything, but I liked it. So
it's a very similar setup too. So the case is very similar to that watch. They put a matte ceramic bezel rather than a glossy bezel on this, and they put in a 40 millimeter case rather than the 44.5 millimeter case, which is what they were using for the blue and the like black and orange versions that they were doing. They also came out like a red, white, and blue version, which this is the tamest color version, a color way, I guess you would call it. And I really, it's like it's a 40. No, it's what is this? Mark Wheeler is saying the 44 millimeter GMT blue and red is a very nice, except for the high gloss bracelet. So all of them have like a oyster style bracelet with polished links down the middle. So and the cases are all high polish. They didn't do that with this 40 millimeter. It's all matte and brushed. So I think they did a really good job with it. We'll see. I ordered one. I'll be featuring it on my channel. $1,390. I don't think I mentioned that. $1,390 is what, and it's a true GMT. I use the word true GMT. People get mad at me, but it's a traveler or flyer GMT. So you get the Powermatic 80 that is fitted with a GMT that is a GMT basically, and it's the local hour hand jump. So at this price, $1,390, 200 meters of water resistance and the whole package. You're getting 2 straps and a bracelet. I really think it's really not a bad price. And especially it doesn't say Hodinkee on the front at all on the dial. I like that. I'm glad that they did that, because usually they need to put their name somewhere on it. They didn't do it. So that's great.
Yeah, I actually had this picked. I didn't realize that you'd purchase one. So I actually had this picked as, I think, is a hit. I'm surprised they've not sold out now, because normally with Hodinkee, you think within a couple of hours they're sold out. But maybe they ordered an adequate amount this time. But I think it's
1,000 of them. 1,000 of them is I think that's a lot. But
yeah, I love it. I think Mido is doing so much right with the Captain Cook and the other, I'll say, relatives to that diver. I think this is this is spot on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I think this is a hit.
I'm a big fan of the Ocean Star tribute. I had the Ocean Star tribute, and I just sold it just a few months ago, and I regretted it immediately after I sold it. I was like, I don't know why I sold this. I shouldn't have sold it. And now when they came out with this, I said absolutely 100% I'm going to buy this because it's essentially the same case with a GMT function. The only thing I wish is that it had a bracelet without straight ends. I'm not a huge fan of that. I don't mind the mesh bracelet, but it kind of, if they put something that had solid end links on it, I would be happier. That's fine though, I guess.
Yeah, so the tribute was the one with the multicolored dial.
No, the tribute it's the same case. The tribute is their the vintage style dive watch. The multicolored dial is their dive timer. So they made a dive timer. Yeah. And that they originally came out with, those sold out, and then I think they made a good amount of them. There was like 500 or 1,000 of those. Those were selling for over. They were selling like, I think they retailed for $1,000. I used to see them for $3,000 on eBay.
Wow.
Then Hodinkee did a limited edition run of a pink dial variant, and that one sold out as well. I didn't jump on that one. This one I jumped on because I just like this one.
Yeah,
nice.
So Roar of the Tiger here saying, isn't Hodinkee on the case back? So it's engraved on the case back,
yes,
is it?
It is. Yeah.
But that's good.
You can't see
that.
Yeah. That I get on the dial. I don't understand.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, I think this is a hit as well.
Oh,
I think this is a hit.
Yep.
Next up, I had to put this on because I don't think we've talked about it yet. I mean, it's out of the realm of most possibility, but I had to put it on here. And this is the Omega, the Chrono Chime, is it called? Spectacular. Spectacular watch that, I mean, I certainly would never own because I think is it, Todd, do you remember? Is it like 400 something thousand?
I thought it was in a
450,000.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So it's not for the mere mortals among us by any stretch, but it is, to me. I'm with you, Sam, 100%. I'm a big Omega fan, so there you go. But it's one of those. What I'm trying to see. What do they call that? The top line of any product range. The pinnacle of what they can do. This is a little bit of showing off by the watchmaking folks at Omega. And I liked our discussion we had before when Rolex was building that monster deep sea watch. In the meantime, to try to beat Omega for a few feet on the possibilities of that. In the meantime, Omega's building this piece of art and engineering that's just amazing.
Yeah, Mark's saying, do you mean Halo model?
Halo. Thank you, Mark. That's what I was looking for. Halo model. Yep. Yeah.
I'm fascinated by this watch. I don't know whether I'd ever get to see one in a boutique, but
they did not have one where I went today. I don't know if they regularly would issue these to a boutique. I don't know how you get these.
Yeah. I mean, just for the sheer indulgence of it and over the top, I think this is a hit. I don't know. What do you think, Chris? Have you seen any videos of this?
I've heard it chime out the chronograph and everything. I think it's really cool. Is it worth 450,000? I don't know. I think there's a lot of other watches I would get before this watch. I definitely think it's a hit. I don't think the price, $450,000 is a lot of money. There's a lot of watches out there that I would be jumping on way before that. But
yes,
it is like you're saying, Todd, a Halo watch. It's like when a brand comes out with something that they're not going to sell a lot of, they're just showing you what they can do.
They can do, like the plaid version of the Model S Tesla, which I guess they do sell a few of those, or the Azura Arc, I can't even say it, Duntov Corvette, what Chevrolet has done before, packages on Corvettes, and I don't know.
Yeah, and I think this is well, maybe not the definition because it is rose gold, but it's definitely stealth wealth, this, isn't it? Because nobody ever is going to know what this is on your wrist unless you suddenly encounter somebody who really knows watches. Like this, Yeah, it's definitely going to be for. It's not. This is a watch that you tell people about and educate them and show it off, isn't it? It's not.
Yeah, I don't know how you wear it.
Would stop you. Yeah.
It's sort of like the Bel Canto, and I know this is a really weird. It's not a weird parallel at all, but for Christopher Ward, that's sort of a halo watch, you know. And when you show it to somebody, you have to explain to them why it's cool.
Right.
And this is that. I mean, it's different crowds, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. That's what I really like about this Bel Canto is it's a watch that is definitely a talking point, isn't it? You really the same with when you look at it, it really invites you to like concentrate on the watch to tell the time and to sort of lose yourself in that dial. So next up I had was I've never seen one of these in person, but these Unimatic titanium, they've just brought out a titanium version. And what I like as well is they've kind of improved the movements, because I think when they started out, they were at NH35As, or there was something that kind of put me off for the price.
No, look at this.
Oh, you've got what? Oh, hey, whoa, hang on.
So I was sent the Unimatic by Huckberry, so they've been sending me watches. So this is not the titanium version, but this is their standard line chronograph, and it's the VK model. And I have to say, it's an interesting design. I've seen these around, and I've I get it. I think they're pretty expensive. So they came out with the titanium versions. They came out with Swiss versions. They've been doing a lot, and they're really an enthusiast brand. So you either love them or hate them. But like for this with a VK, I think they're charging I want to say it's 500 and something. It's a lot. That's a lot for a Seiko Mecha Quartz chronograph.
Yeah, so it's this one. Yes, €520. So it's going to be around that in dollars, isn't it? I've made no bones about the fact that I can't quite fathom why so many companies use the VK64 chronograph movement, because it has no running seconds, and for a chronograph, for my eye, I don't like to look at a watch that looks like it's dead. So, but anyway, that's a whole separate conversation. Because there is a version of the Mecha Quartz that has the running seconds, and I had it in a Speedtimer when the Speedtimer arrives, and I like that version. And also, 24-hour has got to be the single most useless complication that's ever been put on a watch. It should be a dot if it's anything, a dot that changes, or like a moon phase, but not an actual dial. But yeah, they get a lot of watch press, don't they? Unimatic. They're definitely like a darling of Hodinkee and a few of the other watch publications, and they're Italian, I think. Italian designs.
Yep. Okay.
Yep. They're clearly an homage to Rolex and like a few other brands, but you definitely could see that they're and
Seiko dial.
Yeah, they definitely are an homage to different brands, and I mean most brands are. Even the 50 Fathoms, you see a little bit with the the sterile bezels from back in the day. I think they're attractive. I just don't. Their price points, I'm a little confused by. That's it. So on the secondary market, though, if you can pick these up at a discount, they're great. Some of them sell for over list price. Like we talk about this all the time, and I talk about it on my channel a lot. Like I would never ever pay over list price for a watch like this, and most of the time, depending on the watch, I usually would never pay list price. So I would always wait until the secondary, like that Murph that we were talking about before. I probably would not buy it when it came out. I would wait until it started selling and then buy it on the secondary market. This is one of those watches, unless you need to have it. I don't think there's anything wrong with them. I think the build construction is really good. Overall, the design is pretty distinctive, but you could do better with your money rather than buying it brand new.
So are you leaning towards a bit of a miss on that one?
I would, well, the titanium version specifically, because they're very expensive. Yes, I would say they're missing.
Yeah, so it was 1,800,
Okay.
it was, sorry, 1,180
Yeah.
euro for a SW200
Yeah.
with the titanium case. So, yeah, I mean, there's plenty of Christopher Wards, isn't there? Like well below that.
I mean, I wouldn't put them in the same category as Baltic, because Baltic, I think, I like that. That's a company that I really just genuinely don't understand why people are so crazy about their watches. But they're in that they're some of their watches I do think are really well made. And when you like this watch in your hands, this thing is solid, and the bezel action is really good. I mean, the thing is it's really well made. But there you
go. Well, that's cool that you had hands on that. Next one. Oh, yeah, I had to pull this one up. I mean, I was hoping that I could show this live. I've actually, hopefully, if it doesn't get completely lost in the post, I ordered the silver dial of the. It looks white, but it's actually it's silver. This is the new version of the Speedtimer. If anybody's been watching the channel for any length of time, I bought the last year's version, which I loved, but it was just a little bit too small. To the eye, it was so well designed. I even had McCullough at Man Cave Leather made me like a bun strap to visually bulk it out a bit, and it did work. It did look good, but it was one of those things I just couldn't live with. So I'm really excited to see this one, because they've bumped it up an extra 2 mil, I think, on the case. And I have seen one of these in person, and I've got a photo of them side by side, and they do visually look better. The only thing, I mean, this bezel, they've gone back to a aluminium insert, whereas the previous one, it looked as if it was ceramic, but it was powder coated, because I scratched it. So I know I scratched it by accident. It's powder coated steel, but I don't know. I mean, I throw it out to the panel. I know what I think. I think it's a hit, but what do you guys think?
Well, I'm a fan of the Speedtimers. I think they're good looking watches.
Yeah.
Obviously, they put together a really good, straightforward, good looking. I think they're way better looking than the automatic versions that they came out with last year. Those were a miss.
Those were a miss. They're way too expensive. Oh my gosh,
they were really expensive.
Very expensive, and the dials, the dials were too big, and their sub dials were too small. And they used the NE88, which is a great movement, but I think they're charging $3,500, $4,500.
Yeah,
something like that.
It was a lot.
Yeah, and they even did that one for the World Athletics, didn't they? Which I thought looked really cool as well. But you're right, the price point just didn't marry with me. So so I think this will be a hit. I'm gonna call it a hit.
They did a much better job with this. What's the price?
It's they're 720, I think, if you buy it. 700 if you buy it from Seiko.
Okay.
I actually bought mine from a site in Japan, and it was a lot less. But really? I won't say. I'll wait till it arrives, and then I'll review the place that I bought it off, and then I'll tell you the price in the review. Because if it doesn't arrive, then it wasn't a good deal. So it was. But it's actually with UPS. It's nothing to do with the company. But when I do the review, I'll talk through it.
And it's a decent homage to their 6139. It's not. As you can see, it's inspired by it. It's not supposed to be a new version of that. So I appreciate that, them not trying so hard and missing with that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll do a full review, and I'll probably wear it on the next live stream as well. Next up, we've got here is, we'll do another Seiko. This kind of flew under the radar, and Chris, who's on our Facebook group, actually messaged me this watch because he started a post on it. And I don't know, Todd, have you seen this? It's a Seiko Metronome watch.
I've seen, not the new one, I've seen vintage ones. At least pictures of vintage ones, if it's the one I'm thinking about. So it's very interesting that they have brought this back, but I don't know much about it.
Yeah, this came in under the wire, so I don't know a lot about how it works, but I think it's quite an interesting. I suppose if you're a musician or something, and it might be quite a good. I don't know what other practical use it has.
Have you seen videos of how it works?
I haven't. No. No,
So
not
it
yet.
I mean, again, I'm not a musician, but you could set it so that it actually makes like the hands will swing back and forth and tick, and make like a tick noise.
Oh, yeah.
And you could play music and time. I guess you're timing the music to the. Someone made a video about it, came into my feed, and I was like, I have never seen this Seiko before. And I looked at the video and I was like, this is awesome, but. And then I went to find where I could go buy one, and then I was like, "What the hell am I buying this? Why I can't stop buying everything?" So then I just stopped myself from buying it. I just moved on. But and then I started seeing other. So that video, this is like the world in like a nutshell. That video went viral, and I think got like 1 million views of this guy playing music with this watch and was ticking back and forth. And then I started seeing other reviewers start reviewing this watch because I guess it got such a positive reaction. And then I think like I saw the time teller with a review on it and this and that, and it was like, oh my god, like this is insane. It's a very cool watch. It's actually pretty good looking.
Yeah,
The hands are really nice.
Yeah, and it's obviously it's quartz as well, so you haven't got to worry about it thrashing through the automatic movement for that extra complication. Yeah, I think this is a hit.
I love it. It's different. Seiko does some really, I tell you, from of any watch company, Seiko will come up with some really wild things that no one else, can do. And this is a great example of that. There's no equivalent out there that I know of that's a company that's done a metronome watch.
Yeah, it was kind of like Casio in the 80s and 90s, weren't it, with their digital watches,
Yeah,
and they
with
were
the
putting
digital
like
watch.
laser thermometers on, and they were every new watch was
right.
was incredible.
Seiko, or you're right, Casio wins the challenge for coming up with watches with the most sensors that you could possibly put on a watch.
Yep.
But Seiko comes. You're right; they do a great job with that. Seiko does a great job with these just kind of odd ducks and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to call that one a hit. Next up, Todd, this was one of your one. Oh, actually, Todd might have to. I think that was the doorbell. We'll go on to. Well, Chris, I had to put this on, and it's the bell Canto. And I'm definitely not sponsored by Christopher Ward. I'm not. They did kind of send me this water bottle though. But yeah, I had to put this on because this was released in the time since we did the last hit or miss, and I think that it's definitely a hit.
Oh yeah. Like I was discussing. I mean, Chris has one, and I put my name in to get on the list to when they eventually come out with more. This is just an amazing piece for the price.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder
I
if
ordered it. When I was sent the press release, I didn't ask them for I didn't respond and ask for additional information. I asked them how much and can I buy one now? And that was immediately when I got the press release, the first thing I asked was how much and can I buy one? That was it.
Yeah. Which one did you get? Did you get the blue or green dial?
I got the blue dial. Okay. Yeah, I got it. So when they sent me the press release, I wasn't the only one. So apparently, when I talked to Mike at the Wind Up Watch Fair in New York, where they had one, and I walked over and I said hello, and I introduced myself, and he was just he's like, you're not the only one. That we sent out an email. There was about 11 people that they sent out the email to, and he said that half the people came back and said how much, and I'd like to buy one. So yeah. I can see why. I can see why. I understand why I bought one, but everyone that I show it to, because I go to a lot of watch events here in New York, that I went to a dinner the other night with a bunch of watch guys here in New York, and the guy who runs Complecto and all these other, and we were all just sitting there. Everybody was mesmerized by the Bel Canto, and there were some serious watches there, and that was the watch that everybody wanted to see.
Right.
Yeah, I'm amazed. I'm amazed by it. It's I'll do a full review of it, but I'm amazed by it. It's a real.
Well, no, I was going to say, I think that this is a really great. I think it's not just a halo watch for going back to Halo watches, right? It's not really a Halo product for Christopher Ward, but I think this really establishes them recently as not just they're no longer a micro brand, right? They're producing probably reasonable numbers. I don't know what they are, but I think they've really come up as an independent watchmaker at this point, as opposed to, something else. So they're in the same league as some of the smaller, I think, independent watchmakers at this point.
I've been calling them a micro independent brand. That's what I've tried to coin that phrase. That's what
Well, how many do they sell a year of their watches? Do we have any
they
idea?
sell a lot of watches.
Yeah. I don't know. I think actually Mike might have, I can't remember it, but I think he might have mentioned it. I did an interview with Mike on the Bel Canto, and I sliced out the bit about the Bel Canto, which was 15 minutes in the middle, but actually the full interview is in podcast format. So if you're interested in listening to the full, where we talk about the current state of Christopher Ward and some of the more recent models, that's available on the audio podcast. Well, Todd, we've left 15 minutes for your quick fire round of mini reviews, and then Chris and I will comment on these watches as well. But you had quite a productive weekend, so how are you set up? Are you're okay to go through a couple of these?
I'm good to go through right now. Yeah.
So first up is the GMT High Beat.
Automatic GMT, and I looked at so many today and a couple days ago that I can't even give you all the reference numbers. But these are all my wrists, so I can certainly say that I am the lovely fashion model here with this on my wrist. And this is one of the ones that I've been admiring a lot on pictures. I'm a huge Grand Seiko fan. I don't own one except for a vintage one. I have one from the early 70s, and I just looking at it, and when you really see these things, it's just amazing. You see them on wrist, and you can see those dials, and it just blows you away.
Yeah, Chris, have you ever owned a Grand Seiko?
I own a Grand Seiko chronograph.
Mm-hmm.
So it's I forget what year it is, but it has a sapphire bezel, the whole nine. I've been thinking about flipping it and buying one of these GMTs.
Okay.
Because I've always liked the GMT from this is the Sport, and it has a rotating bezel. I've always liked these watches. It's just a good looking. The only thing is that they're 44 millimeters. That's they're not small, but neither is my chronograph. So the chronograph I have is 44 millimeters also. Right. This will wear a little bit smaller. Seikos usually wear a little bit smaller.
Mm-hmm.
I love them. I think.
And this is on my wrist, which is like 6 3/4. So that's why I was a little afraid it might be too big. I think when I draped it over it, because of the way they do the lugs and the way they do the bracelet, which the bracelet, well, maybe I don't keep it on there, but it falls down nicely, so I could pull it off.
Yeah, that's good to know. Yeah. So we're going with the hit for that one. Next up, you've got a couple of tags here. Not often featured on the show. I'm more of a fan of the vintage Hoya, but. Yeah. This is the Aqua Racer with the cartoon hour hand.
Yeah. This one I just took a picture. I didn't put this on wrist. It was in the display, and you do it. You get all this Scuba Pro stuff because what's interesting is Scuba Pro Seikos are very, very expensive and very desirable vintage ones. Right. So I kind of took a picture of it. It's their Aqua Racer. Not a huge fan of the Aqua Racer line just because of I don't like the kind of multifaceted, dive timer.
Like an octagonal.
That kind of somewhat octangular, a stop sign thing going on there. So I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. This is a new special edition they have in the store. The boutique evidently has this boutique in Galleria Mall in Houston. Evidently has all of the tag watches that they advertise, like all the new ones. Oh, wow. Not every variation in the world, but if you like whatever you need to, if you're really interested, they evidently have it there, which I thought was pretty cool. I don't know if it's a good thing, but so these are the two. We know these well. The Monacos, they have the Gulf colors on the bottom right, and then of course they still have the one on the top left is the one that's like a homage to the one that was worn by Steve McQueen. And they have the left-hand crown to celebrate the original caliber 11. I just don't know if and they fit my wrist great. I don't know if I like the shiny dial of the Golf colors. It's really iridescent. I think I'd have to go to the original Steve McQueen style one. But I still don't quite know. I guess they must have re-engineered the movement so that the crown works from that left side. That was a necessary design choice back in the Project 99 days when they were building the first automatic chronograph, or the three companies were working on it. But it's a super nice, it fits my wrist really well. I never knew how well one of those really fit, but it does well.
Yeah, I've never had one on wrist. I did a Hoya Ortavia that had that movement into the crown was on the other side. But Chris, have you ever owned a Tag
Heuer? Ever owned one, Chris?
Tag Heuer? No. Heuer, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a fan of Heuer. I've always been a fan of Heuer and vintage Heuer, and Tag Heuer is just not been my. So, like the watch we were looking at, the Aqua Racer, the crown guard on there, like a modern watch coming out with a crown guard like that, that's kind of useless to me. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, if it's a Panerai, I get it because that's part of their brand DNA. That's what they are. That's what they've done. For them to stop doing it would make no sense. But for a brand like this, that they're putting something on the side of the case just for the hell of it. They can engineer that without having to put a crown guard on it. I don't know. It's just for show. It's not something that I would like. And I've always liked the Monaco, but it's just it never really spoke to me. I would, if there was a vintage, I would get a vintage Monaco, but not a modern one.
I'm totally the same. I'm like a huge Steve McQueen fan as well. When I was at college, I did I did media studies, and a lot of the papers that I wrote were on Steve McQueen films. And I don't. For me, they've stopped doing it now. I think probably because the new CEO is like 26 and he probably has no idea who Steve McQueen is. But they used to use Steve McQueen's image ad nauseum, and I wish they wouldn't, because he did wear this watch in a film, but in real life, I mean, sure, they probably gave him the watch, but in real life, he was famous for the Rolex President, and he wore a hand heart. So if I was going for a watch because of my appreciation of Steve McQueen, it would probably be a hand heart, because they even re-released that hand heart watch. I forget the reference, but anyway. Next up, Todd, this is the snowflake.
Yeah, it's the white birch.
Okay.
So I wanted to see what the white birch looked like on my. Sorry about that. Yeah, we have people coming in. The white birch on my wrist, and again, this is so much good Grand Seiko design DNA in this watch. The dial. It's actually one of my better pictures. The dial is super stunning. I don't know if you've seen one close up. This is a spring drive. It's just, I mean, if I were to get one instead of like the snowflake, this would be on my list. This or the blue one. It's just super attractive.
Yeah, I have seen this dial in person. Yeah, I think I saw like a slightly green one. I think they did one that was the seasons, and maybe it was autumn that I saw that I think had a slight greenish, but it had this similar
titanium, right?
I think it is titanium. Yeah.
Didn't feel like it.
Okay.
Felt that would be my issue with the. I'm not a huge titanium watch fan, and I think that would be my issue with the snowflake. But
yeah, no worries. And then next up, Todd, is the new Patek. Oh no, wait, sorry.
So I've been a fan when these Breitlings came out, especially the salmon dial, and they had one in the showcase, and they actually, I think Breitling was another one of the boutiques that has just about everything, and it is super. It's not too big. It's a good size for you got a chronograph, you've got an annual calendar, and you got a moon phase, and so. I mean, I love the dial, the details. Actually, I was really blown away by the details. Like the Arabics are just phenomenal. The way the dial works is phenomenal. There's a lot of going on in the dial that doesn't show up in the picture. The movement was really, really well finished. The This is not a cheap watch. I believe this is like $9,000, $9,100. So it's on up there, but I was really impressed with the watch, though. Much more than I thought I would be.
Yeah, I've owned a couple of Breitlings. Not mainly they've been Annie Digis or quartz ones, but I feel like they're so present everywhere you go. You see Breitling in malls and stuff, but I still think they're slightly unappreciated in terms of comparison to their peers. I don't know, Chris, what you think. Have you owned Breitlings or no?
I never connect with Breitling. For some reason, I've never been able to connect with Breitling. I think that they make some really good looking watches. I always wanted an emergency, but the size is like ridiculous, and I think it's just like the cool factor. And I don't even know if it's cool. Maybe I'm completely wrong about that, but
no, I like that emergency just because of the over engineering of it and the fact that it charges up in that thing and it's titanium and right. I always remember they did an episode of Top Gear where the British Top Gear where Richard Hammond, they like deposited him on a mountaintop somewhere and he used the Breitling he wrapped it around a tree.
That was the Ford Raptor, I think it was the Ford Raptor episode, right?
It was. Yeah. Because they had to pick the best rescue vehicle, didn't they? And they had that. They had the Raptor, the Yaka
Ford Raptor.
Yeah.
Listen, I appreciate the brand. I just can't. I have never connected with it. Like I've just never. It's sort of like Tag Heuer. It's just never been something I've been able to connect with. Vintage Breitling, again, the different story though. Vintage Breitling, I feel as though I could connect that a little bit better. I could find there's vintage Breitling that I find attractive.
Yep.
Modern Breitling, something about them.
I'm changing my tune. I'm with you a little bit on that, Chris, too, because I'd like to have like a vintage cosmonaut. A Navi timer would be awesome, but I was connecting more with this. This is the one that right? Here's the one that was created all that controversy because of the second one.
I can't. I've seen this in person, and I am a Breitling fan, and I like the Super Ocean. I think the previous Super Ocean was awesome, but this I still can't, after all this time, get my head around that marshmallow on a stick. For the minute hand, I can't understand why they did it.
Well. So to jump in there, so talking to the gentleman that helped me there, who was very knowledgeable, he said that this is what he told me. He said that they gave the designs to real, honest to goodness divers, and they said this is what they want. Now, that's what he told me.
But you know, I know a lot of recreational divers that wear Scurfer watches and things like that, so I don't know. It's one of those things, isn't it? If you're asked your opinion on it's like, but would you actually wear it?
Would you actually wear this while diving?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with that Tag Heuer, the Aqua Racer with the giant crown protector. I'm sure they claim that they gave this to divers and they chose a real diver is going to wear a dive computer. They're going to wear a dive computer. G-Shock. And that's it. So, I mean, this is not for yes, people can go diving with this and people will go diving with this, but a person who's worried about their lives when they're diving, they're going to use a G-Shock. They're going to have two G-Shocks on. They're going to have a G-Shock and a dive computer on, and then they're going to go diving and they'll be fine. This is not.
Yeah, these are all backups now to your dive computers for any serious diving. Yeah. But that's the story. I'm like, okay.
Awesome. Well, Todd, we've only got a few minutes left, and I know there's a lot of pictures. Is there any you wanted to jump on in particular?
So jump to the Bulgari. I've never strapped a Bulgari. Did those come through to you?
Yes.
There they are. So they had one Octo Finissimo in stock, and the stainless one here. And I didn't think I would ever like one of these. And absolutely, when I put it on my wrist, I'm like, oh, okay. This is pretty cool, and it fit me really well. And
they're very thin.
It's very thin. There should be a shot there of where I showed you. Did you get the thin side of it?
I didn't. I kind of was. I did. Oh, I did see it, but I haven't got it.
Super thin. I'm not into thin watches. I don't really care so much how thin you can make this, but and the finishing on the movement was really, really beautiful, and you could see all the angles. And the brushing, and I was just very, very impressed. It's kind of an integrated bracelet watch, which is not, again, one of my things anymore, unless it's vintage. I was just really blown away just how nice this is. It's about 12.5, so you're not talking about small dollars here. And they don't get a lot in. I don't know if they move on the price at all, but I was just like, okay, this is much more of something that interests me than I thought. This really comes down to.
Yeah, it's not the kind of watch that I go for, but
yeah, I don't think I'd ever really buy one, but I was really like, wow, okay. There's a lot there.
So Mark Wheeler's actually saying, I love the Bulgari, but can't wear it. Way too uncomfortable, and that bracelet is painful.
Is the bracelet? Is it a hair puller, Mark? That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
I put it on, but I didn't, have it on tight.
And then, so is there any others, Todd? I know this. I love this Panerai.
So,
I wish I would go for one, but the price point on them is just, it's just a little rich.
Panerai is one of those brands like Chris was talking about. I'd buy used, but the problem is there's so many fakes. Yeah, I'd have to go. It'd have to be a certified, like through Watchbox or something like this. But what I found out is that's a 40 millimeter one I think I have on my wrist, and it's with the crown guard, so the watches actually wear dimensionally much smaller than I thought they would. The 40 is too small for me. It looks like, so here it is, the 40 next to the 43. If I were to buy one, it would be the 43.
Yeah,
and that would, that's a 44
or 44. I'm sorry, yeah, 44. I was thinking about the Omega. I looked on it earlier. Yeah, the 44 is what I would buy for me if I were to do that, because it fit right.
Yeah, I don't know, Chris, have you ever owned a Panerai?
I currently have 4 Panerai.
Wow.
Oh, that's really cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a Radiomir 1940. I have a flyback ceramic chronograph. I have a Carbotech, and then I have a titanium with a tobacco dial. So the Carbotech and the flyback ceramic is in the 1950 Luminor case, and then I have so like this case, the one that's on the left, and then I have one that's in the traditional the Luminor Marina case, which is like So I have 4, and I'm a fan of I've been a fan of Panerai. It's like one of the first, not the first, I'm not going to say the first watch brand that I started collecting, but the first watch brand that I owned more than one of. Do I feel the same way about them? I'm selling one of them, so it gives you an idea, but I'll probably hang on to the other 3. We'll see. I don't know. I love Panerai because they were one of the original, or the original dive watch. Arguably, a lot of people will argue that fact, but they were making dive watches before, watches that were built for the purpose of diving before Rolex did. So technically, that's, they're big, but they were always big from the very first.
Yeah.
Right.
Which had a Rolex pocket watch movement, and they have a really, kind of checkered history as well, because obviously an Italian brand during World War II, and some shady stuff going on, but they do have a pretty cool history, and the fact of the way that they were like kind of revived, also pretty cool. And the whole Sylvester Stallone tie-in. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
Yeah, but very much so.
Kind of cool. I've always been a fan. And also, my wife worked for the brand for 17 years. So
wow. Okay. That's impressive. That's very
impressive. That is really cool. Yeah, because even Sylvester Stallone even tells the story about how he discovered Panerai again, didn't he? Because apparently he went into a jewelry store and there was just a watch on the back, and he asked to see it, and they were like, "Oh, no, we're not selling them anymore," or whatever. And he wore it, and then that was his watch that he wore in Cliffhanger or something, and then that was alleged. It's a great story. It's a great story. Whether it's
and he made the Slytech logo, put that on there, and then he gave them out to his friends for Christmas and stuff. So
Not too shabby.
Yeah, and then Richard Mill caught his eye, and he. Well, that's been really awesome.
You go from Panerai to Richard Mill, so that's like, that's the thing about Panerai. They've become this big watch, and that's what they've been known for. And I like the 40 millimeter versions that they're coming in. They came out with a 38 millimeter version.
Yeah, I mean, those are we could do a whole episode on Panerai, because I mean, Sylvester Stallone still. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Jason Statham, and he wears a Panerai, and I think Stallone makes them wear them in the Expendables film, doesn't he? Or probably is encouraged.
Yeah.
And because it just suits that film perfectly. But yeah, the smaller ones, they got into a bit of controversy because they lost the water resistance.
They lost the water resistance.
Like 30 mil or something. 30 meters.
Certain ones, they have like 30 meters of water, 50 meters of water resistance. I know a lot of people complain about that. Those are the Duets. So those are they have micro rotor. They're dress watches. That's what they were going for. They still have the serious 300 meter dive watches, the submersibles. They still have that. They still make those. They're making those in 40 millimeters as well. I mean, they're cool watches. Again, I don't know. Like, as a brand, I don't know what they're going to do, in the future, because everybody's downsizing, and they're literally part of what they are is a big watch. And as they start making 38 millimeter watches, I don't know if it makes sense for a Panerai.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Well, we're at time, and sorry, Todd, we didn't even get to do half here, but we'll maybe keep them for the next show. Thank you to everyone in the comments. Chris, thank you so much for joining us. It's great to have you on. And if you've not checked out Chris's channel before, watch Chris in the name. Fantastic channel. All sorts of brands, micro brands, main brands. A lot of really succinct reviews that I like to watch. You get the facts, you get a good look at the watch, and then you give your opinion on it, which I think is I definitely should take a leaf out of that book for some of my longer ones. Awesome. Well, thanks everyone. Todd, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you all next time on Casual Watch Talk.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.